A fountain pen gets thrown at Lionel's face, with the nib flying straight to his face, cutting his cheek in the process. His friend has had enough of his nagging, claiming that no matter what he does, the former always has something to nag about. Just what the hell was his problem? Lionel tries to calm his friend Luke, reasoning that he's not always complaining about everything, but Luke can only see black. And what did Lionel mean he's not complaining? He's doing it right now. Despite being calm, Luke is not having it. Yeah, Lionel may be the vice leader of the Golden Silkwork Butterfly, but even Luke admits that the former's job is to give input on how to run the clan. But that doesn't mean he has the right to stick his nose in Luke's love life too. Luke said this too loudly, so the other clan members heard his claim. From the other side of the door, their subordinates can only feel troubled because Captain Luke is pissed again. The other guy only hopes that this fight doesn't turn into a mess like last time. But back to Lionel and Luke, the former calmly tells the clan leader that he's not telling him who to date. What he's trying to say is for Luke to keep his private life separate from work. Not to take sides, but Lionel has a point. But what exactly caused their fight anyway? To get a better understanding of what's happening, let's take it back to a month ago. The clan put up a recruitment notice, and not long after, a girl named Fina showed up. Luke was smitten, to say the least. The guy was head over heels in love, pronto. Lionel's not too surprised, and it's not strange for romance to spark between men and women. Maybe their romance would have been supported by the whole clan if only Luke hadn't given her special treatment. Can you imagine a brand new recruit instantly getting promoted to squad leader? Ridiculous. What's even worse is that Luke also paid her the same salary as their veteran officers. In a merit-based adventurer clan, nepotism is poison. Of course, you best believe the clan members were hounding Lionel to do something. The female members were this close to throwing hands, while the guys were grumbling non-stop. But even Lionel can see that they too are close to blowing up. They're demanding a pay raise because of what Luke is doing, dang it. No adventurer in their right mind would feel good about a fresh recruit, unproven in battle, who suddenly starts barking orders as squad leader. Naturally, the clan members came to Lionel because they'd had enough. Even he thought it was dangerous too. Considering all things in mind, he told Lionel that if she's serious about the girl, then he should just marry her and retire. Upon hearing that, Luke blew a gasket. He told Lionel that he has no right to meddle in his private life, but the latter is only looking out for the good of the guild. Honestly speaking, he doesn't really care who his friend marries. In fact, he'll even be happy for him. But again, Lionel reiterates that Luke should separate his private matters from the job. This time, Luke is even angrier. Just what the hell is up with that tone Lionel is using? He was so enraged, shaking as he told the vice leader how he's always preaching down on him. Is he Luke's mother or something? Okay, that struck a nerve. This time it's Lionel's turn to lose it. Lionel lets him have it. First of all, they're the same age. And even if he had a son, he wouldn't be so dang stupid, unlike Luke, who is an octopus-headed bastard. The hell? Just who is he calling an octopus? That's it. Luke tells Lionel he's out of the guild. Get the hell out of Golden Silkworm Butterfly, he shouts at the ex-vice leader, throwing the documents in his face. Lionel was taken aback by the proclamation, but he quickly recovered. Before he marched off through the door, Lionel told Luke that this time he's never coming back. Lionel kicks the door open while Luke watches his ex-friend storm off. Just like that, this is how banishment number 2 happened. Actually, this wasn't Lionel and Luke's first fight. Golden Silkworm Butterfly was a clan that the two of them built over 10 years ago. They poured blood, sweat, and tears to make it grow. The two continued to face one peril after another side by side until one day, they finally became one of the leading adventure clans in the city. However, Lionel was kicked out of the clan for the first time. Similar to what happened just now, he called out Luke, but this time it's because of the latter's reckless spending. Once the clan grew, Luke picked up practically every vice known to man. Booze, gambling, women, and the like. He blew guild funds like there was no tomorrow. Of course, once Lionel pointed that out, Luke banished him in a heartbeat. Funnily enough, karma came back in the form of Luke, begging Lionel on his knees to come back to the guild, just 6 months after the latter's exile. Lionel had a lot of things to say, but when Luke told him that there's no vice leader like him with such a sorry look on his face, Lionel swallowed everything and came back. Well, it's because a part of him knew that his friend Luke may be a fool, but he's no villain. Our protagonist really believed that he could admit mistakes and change. From then on, they managed to scrape through other troubles before. But in the end, it made Lionel think that maybe he never really had a good eye for people. Lionel makes his way back to the guild, thinking about how he experienced bad bosses and poor judgment of comrades. Getting expelled twice is proof of that. If he keeps this up, then it will just happen again. Maybe it's time to put an end to his days as an adventurer and find another line of work. But fate has a different plan for our protagonist. No sooner had he stepped inside the guild headquarters than he was welcomed with the cries of 3 girls begging Jennifer, the guild rep, to give them one more chance. Huh? What the hell? The girls are already teary-eyed, begging to give them 3 more days. No, just a day is enough, just one more day, they'll even do anything. There was an awkward pause until Jennifer turned in Lionel's direction, silently pleading with her eyes to help her out. Oh boy, another trouble is the last thing on Lionel's mind, so with that he turns away. Sorry, Jennifer. Too bad for him. Her glare cut through his soul, so this is how Lionel finds himself walking toward them, asking what the problem was. The three girls turn to him, just as Jennifer fills him in on what's happening. Apparently, these girls are about to be expelled for not paying the guild dues. Did these girls really become adventurers without knowing about guild dues? The Adventurers Guild is a mutual group of adventurers, funded by adventurers themselves, which is the guild dues. Anyone who doesn't pay gets expelled, which means they lose the right to sell monster cores, relic roots, or even worse. They can't take guild quests anymore. For any adventurer, that's practically the end of the line. Lionel grabs the girl, holding on to Jennifer, pulling her away from the guild rep. So they're so broke that they can't even pay dues, huh? Jennifer answers on their behalf, saying that shouldn't be the case since these girls already cleared 2 quests. Oh? Lionel's impressed since 2 quests in a month is pretty decent progress. With that said, he says the rewards should have been more than enough to cover the dues, so why can't they pay? It's the girl in the middle who speaks, saying they split the reward evenly among the 3 of them, and the other girl adds that nothing was left. Lionel pulls a face. Of course, they have no sense of organization. They're the type who freestyle things, splitting everything evenly, that kind of thinking. Suddenly, the first girl grabs Lionel's arm, teary-eyed, as she asks him what they should do. Wait a minute, this girl? Instead of answering, Lionel asks if her gift is a hero. The girl is amazed because wow, how did he know that? Lionel explains that the majority of swordsmen have the gift of hero. If anything, this girl reminds him of Luke. Oh. Since they're at it, the girl introduces the other 2 girls. The blonde girl is Misha. Her gift is Saint, and she's their cleric. Meanwhile, the other girl is Milialia, their sage. She's their mage. Milialia calls out the hero girl, Asuka, saying this isn't the time for introductions. What about their guild dues? Upon remembering that, Asuka starts stressing again. Still, Lionel notes that their trio has a frontline hero backed by a saint and a sage. This is a pretty balanced setup. In their world, talents given by the supreme god are called gifts. Every adventurer receives theirs at the church at the age of 10. Luke and Asuka are both blessed with the hero gift. Lionel, on the other hand, is gifted with tactician. It's a pretty rare one, and individuals blessed with this gift are said to excel at strategy, command, and organizational management. Besides gifts, there are also things called jobs, which are the class you fight with as an adventurer. Lionel, Luke, and Asuka are all swordsmen. In any case, Asuka's party forms the ideal party. There are no gaps between front and back lines. Additionally, there is healing, support, and a comprehensive strategy. The only thing missing from them is a leader who will help put it all together. Looking at her now, Asuka is still busy bawling and begging Jennifer to give them another chance. From his perspective, their worst trait is how cozy they are with each other. Splitting rewards evenly is just one symptom, and without setting aside funds, this was bound to happen. Wait, hold up. What is Lionel even thinking? Isn't he on his way to quitting adventuring? But hey, old habits die hard, huh? Besides, it's not like he owes these kids anything. Too bad for him. When he opened his eyes, what he saw were the 3 of them giving him the most puppy dog eyes ever known to man. Before he knows it, Lionel is asking Jennifer how much their dues are and saying that he will cover them. Eh? No way. Asuka says it's too much and almost slips and calls Lionel an old man. Milialia tried to cover for her friend, saying Asuka just means he's so reliable, but even Lionel could see that the mage was about to say the same as well. With that same blank expression, Lionel turns to Misha, prompting the latter to look away. Don't bother. He knows what she's thinking, causing the cleric to start panicking. But trivial issues aside, the 3 of them cling to Lionel, thankful and desperate, begging him not to throw them away. They'll even do anything. Is this their usual tactic? And by that he means Misha's rack bumping on his arm. Lionel was the better man, flicking them all away. Alright, he got it already, he's not abandoning them. Jennifer had to ask if he was sure about this, but it's fine. He was planning on quitting adventuring today anyway. Just think of it as his last bit of service to newcomers. He places the gold coins on the counter and sees how his funds have significantly decreased. Well, it's not like he'll get his deposit back anyway, so he just chalked it up. Jennifer stares worriedly at him, but Lionel doesn't meet her gaze, thinking about how he needs to hurry and find his next job. Just then, he feels someone poking his back. He turns and sees that it's Asuka. Before she can say anything else, Lionel tells her that since their dues are paid, they should make sure to cover them next time. She thanks him and asks if his gift is tactician. Well, yeah, it is. Why? Asuka heard that Lionel is quitting, but isn't that a waste of such a rare gift? Which is why, if he wants to, would he want to join their clan? After a moment, he asks her why. Asuka says it's because he helped them when they were in trouble, but that's not enough reason for Lionel. To that, Asuka explains that the 3 of them became adventurers to help people in need, which is why they want someone like him to join them. At that moment, Lionel could see it clearly. That's pure hero spirit. Well, it looks like a tactician will always end up tied to heroes somehow. With a sigh, he reminds them that the reason he got kicked out of his clan was because he was too strict. They know that, right? But that's exactly what they need. Even she's aware that between the three of them, no one can push back hard enough. Lionel is still a little hesitant, but if they're set on it, then he guesses there's no harm in joining them, with the girls taking his hand as he says so. With that, Lionel finally became a member of the hero party. He appreciates their warm welcome, but first, he thinks it's important to settle the immediate problem. What immediate problem? He points out that the party is strapped enough that they couldn't pay guild dues. Now that he's with them, he wants to stabilize their funds first as their tactician. Oh ho! Asuka's getting excited because the newbie wants to dive in with their affairs ASAP, but the swipe is wiped off her face when Lionel tells them that he needs to know what their current standing is. With that said, he ordered them to report how much cash each of them had. Asuka has 2 silver coins, Milialia has a gold coin, and Misha has none. What did she spend all her money on? Misha says she spent it on donations to the church and snacking her way around town. He understands, right? When you smell a perfect steak, of course, you'd grab a bite, right? He's almost fuming because everyone gets lured by the smell from time to time, but there's a limit to it. With that said, he asks them what their plans for dinner are. But that was exactly why they were in the guild in the first place. Lionel can't believe it. These girls really came to raise money, blissfully unaware that they were about to be expelled. With a sigh, he turns to Jennifer, asking if they have any extermination jobs on their roster. The latter looks through her file and picks one. Hayden Farm has been getting hit by goblins a lot lately, and judging by the timing, she says it wouldn't be surprising if people are getting hurt too besides the livestock. Okay, they'll take this one. But as he logged in their details, Lionel forgot that he was no longer part of his previous clan and almost wrote Golden Silkworm Butterfly again. He turns to Asuka and asks what their clan is called, and she shamelessly says it's Hope, as in, they're promising enough to put your hopes on. Lionel can't even hide the face he's making right now. What a bold name. Fine, he'll see to it for a month. But if they're still a promising newbie in a few years, then this is all just a big joke. With that, they make their way to Hayden Farm. Asuka is pretty confident about this mission, saying that it would be easy with this many people. Lionel chastised her, saying she shouldn't get cocky. Sure, a person can take one goblin head on and rarely lose, but what's really scary about them is... Speak of the devil, before he can even finish his sentence, Lionel says this is their cue. They could hear the goblins gathering near them before they could even see them. He tells the trio to fight like they usually do while he watches their strengths and calls it. Asuka straight up bolts to the enemy, leaving Lionel speechless. This girl? Doesn't she know that the strength of goblins lies in their swarming in packs? No true veteran charges in alone like an idiot. Lionel is about to draw his sword, worried about Asuka's reckless behavior. Is she stupid? Just what is the point in forming a party then? But before he could even draw his sword, Milialia stopped him. She's not worried. In fact, she's smiling, reminding Lionel that he was going to watch how they fight first. At that, he came back to his senses. Right, he needs to watch their fighting style. A goblin sneaks up on Asuka, but she was just waiting for the moment to strike. She cuts down the enemy, and Lionel, who was watching from afar, notes how she's just winging it and going all out. No strategy, just wild, reckless brawling. Be that as it may, even he could see how she moves pretty sharply. Another goblin comes from the side and nicks her while a small one jumps her from behind. Asuka manages to avoid fatal hits, but she can only go on for so long doing this. Lionel knows this can go south pretty fast. What's more, the burnout is brutal. She may have dodged earlier, but now all her focus is on the front row. While she's busy fighting the front, a goblin attacks her from behind. She couldn't turn fast enough when she heard their warning, and the enemy sent her flying and injured toward them. Just then, Misha steps in and uses long-range heal. So that's the plan. Lionel even thought Asuka was sent too far back for a goblin heal. But the reason for that is so Misha can use her technique on her. Which means during that small window when Asuka is being healed, Milialia lets it rip on the enemies using her mana bolt. After burning some of the goblins, she tells Asuka that the latter has 12 seconds until the volley ends. A newly healed Asuka is up and ready to go. She charges straight to the enemy again while Misha tells Lionel that this is their guaranteed win tactic. Guaranteed? What the hell does she mean by guaranteed? Lionel almost burst Misha's eardrums, scolding her because honestly speaking, they've just been winning on pure luck. Basically, their strategy goes like this. Asuka charges alone, bunching enemies in one spot. Then she pulls back at the right moment. During that gap, Misha heals her and Milialia blows up the clustered enemies. Any stragglers get cut down by a freshly healed Asuka. Rinse and repeat. This is an insane decoy strategy, with Lionel telling them that they'll run out of lives fighting like this. He joins the fray and cuts down the enemies, seeing how Asuka is also starting to struggle. A couple of goblins jump her at the same time, and since there's no time to put her guard up, she accepts her fate. But Lionel steps in and cuts down all of them, asking if she's still up. This time they're back to back as he tells her to keep her eyes up front and not overthink. She can't help but flash a grin at him. This feels like they're comrades, no. But Lionel is too busy fighting, so she should hurry up and do so too. While they're busy at the front, Lionel instructs Milialia to chase the goblins with magic since they're breaking up. The latter does as she is told, while Lionel tells Misha to guard Milialia since one or two will slip their way. The cleric takes down the stragglers while Asuka finally finishes the last goblin. Wait, what? How did that happen? Lionel just joined them and suddenly, they're done in just 30 seconds? The hero has a hard time processing it, but Lionel can only sigh and wonder when these promising newbies will become real hope. Meanwhile, at the Golden Silkworm Butterfly, Luke asks Fina if she wants to fill in and become the guild's vice leader. Is he serious? Does Luke think she can handle it? He assures her that she can. Heck, even Lionel managed it. Dog, your bro was a tactician, that's why he could handle it. But yeah, even Fina knows that it was only possible then because Lionel was kind of amazing. Amazing? Luke frowns because suddenly, memories of Lionel nagging him to get receipts, telling him to dress like a leader, and prohibiting him from drinking past midnight flooded his mind. Lionel seems more like a nagging mom to Luke for sure. But back to Fina, he tells her that Lionel wasn't useless, but he is replaceable, Fina isn't. And that's more than enough for Fina. Sure, she'll give it a shot. Luke will help her out, right? The latter says he will and tells her to move her desk to his office. The two guild members from before heard it all. Didn't those two from above know that sound carries all the way to the first floor? The dark-haired guy, whose name is Nicole, says they're doomed. The other guy tells him to knock it off, reminding Nicole that they pulled through 5 years ago, remember? Nicole knows, and it's because Vice Leader Nell came back then. But it wasn't just because the captain reflected then. One varying factor is that the problem back then was just between the two of them. The light-haired dude, Joshua, thought that the clan was really done for that time. Even Nicole says he never saw Luke and Lionel go that far. Back then, all of them believed that the bond between their big bros who'd shared it all wouldn't break so easily. This is why the third wheel this time, Fina, is a problem. Nicole says that this time it could be worse than 5 years ago thanks to their new vice leader. Joshua tells him to quit saying that, but man, does he wish that their captain would own up to it and apologize. Nicole knows that won't be for a while. Their captain is stubborn and hot-headed, which is why they needed someone like Vice Leader Nell. Joshua remains optimistic, saying that's exactly why he wants the captain to apologize as soon as possible. Once Vice Leader Nell is back, then they'll be their usual selves again. They still might make it in time, so in the meantime, Joshua suggests they keep grinding for quests until then. Nicole stops in his tracks, wondering if it really was that simple. Is Vice Leader Nell the kind of guy who'd come back just because they said they were sorry? A pot hangs over simmering in the makeshift stove while someone's hands are busy washing laundry. Yep, this someone is none other than Lionel, muttering about how nice the weather is today. Maybe it's also a good time to wash the sheets. Suddenly, the door to the ramshackle building behind him bursts open, and there's Asuka vying for his attention. "Look, Nelson!" she cries. But he's more concerned about the door. It's damaged enough as it is, can't she be gentler? To that, she apologizes to Mama Nell. The heck, who's she calling Mama Nell? But more importantly, look at the logo on her chest. Does it look good on her? Asuka had it embroidered. Nell flatly tells her that it looks good, but Asuka's not too happy with his reaction. He's not even faking his disinterest in it. Nell continues to wring the clothes, asking what Asuka wants from her. She wants him to be loving and manly, that's what. He fires back that it's laundry before love and courage, now hand over the sheets. Asuka does as he says with a pout while he hangs the clothes to dry. So why exactly is Nell doing housework? To have a better understanding of this, it all dates back to a few days ago. After a long day, the Hope Clan finally wraps up their last mission. It took a while, bleeding into the night. And it's the last one out of the back-to-back missions they took ever since Nell joined them. He points out that they don't have much choice, or else they'll fall behind on guild dues again. Mission and guild dues aside, aren't they too far out now? He asks if they're any closer to the House Clan yet. Asuka jogs ahead and tells him that they're almost there. It's just right by the river. Unknown to her, he's already making a mental note of how their location is pretty rough. But hey, at least having nearby water is a blessing. Asuka points to a building just a few feet ahead and welcomes Nell to Hope's clan house. Nell doesn't know what to expect, but it's certainly not this ramshackle shack. He was too shocked that the guy did astral projection, still processing whether this dilapidated building is really the clan house. The three of them start taking their clothes off, heading to the bath, but where would the bath even be inside this building when suddenly all three of them jumped into the river? While in their birthday suit, these girls even had the guts to ask if Nell wanted to join and bathe with them. Nell stood dumbfounded like a clothes rack while the girls enjoyed their bath. He starts folding their clothes and setting those aside while Asuka tells him that they have no kitchen. though they usually eat outside anyway. Plus, none of them can cook, even if they have their own kitchen. Nell sucks his breath before scolding them again. Don't they have an ounce of modesty in them? And so that's how Nell has been living for the past few days. First, he's set on making their lives livable. So far, he has built a laundry rack and a stove. He also discovered that the three of them grew up in an orphanage like Luke and him. So yeah, he gets that a roof and a place to lie down is enough mindset. But that's no way to live. These girls deserve better. He starts stirring the stew he's cooking, thinking about how the trio needs to eat and sleep well too. He does a little taste test, but the salt is a bit strong in this one. From the back, Meisha and Milialia arrive, rolling a giant cauldron. Meisha happily announces that they brought back what he asked for, but Milialia is not too happy because it's too heavy. Mages aren't built for heavy lifting, you know? Nell commends them for their good work. Misha, on the other hand, starts salivating with her eyes twinkling. Nell notices, asking what's up with her face, so she tells him that with a cauldron that big, she can't help but imagine just how much food they can cook at once. He hates to break it to her, but they're not going to use this cauldron for cooking. He starts stacking up stones and setting the stove on top. Now, they just need to burn firewood underneath and boom, they now have a nice hot bath. Oh, so from Milialia's understanding, they can now bathe together, right, huh? What the hell is she on? But wait, why is Misha fidgeting like that? She didn't expect him to call her out, so since she's caught, she tells him that she bought meat because she thought they were going to do hot pot in the big cauldron today. He can't believe it. She splurged again? Upon hearing that, Asuka chimes in that she does too. She spent a lot on the breast embroidery. Nell is just about fed up with their antics, but welp, guess they won't be back at the clan house for a while. Cut to the next scene, Milialia casts a mana bolt at an open field, while Asuka takes down several werewolves. The only thing is that she almost got caught in the fire, barely evading her friend's attacks. Nell tells her to be aware of Milialia's line of sight, and Asuka is quick to oblige. She charges straight at the enemy again, leaving the latter in a panic. Nell runs along with her, and together they surround the werewolves while Milialia uses her mana bolt on the clusters. The others start running away, breaking up the pack, which is their best chance at attack. Nell tells Asuka to keep pace with him, and he's pretty pleased with how they're adapting so well. It looks like the goblin fight the other day paid off, huh? If there's one thing Nell is bent on, it's to never run a decoy strategy that needs a sacrifice. Adventurers fight to keep everyone alive. Asuka takes down another werewolf just in time for Nell to call out to Milialia. Without him telling her anything, she knows what to do. She uses Mana Bolt on the clustered wolves fleeing the scene. A straggler sneaks up on Milialia, so Nell calls out to Meisha. The cleric is quick on her feet and smacks the wolf away from Milialia. Meisha prays over them because even if they're foul beasts, even the supreme god has mercy for them. After saying her prayers, Meisha uses her long-range heal on Asuka, which is right on time. Meisha checks if Milialia is uninjured, and the latter says she's good. Nell notes how Meisha isn't as flashy, but she's the glue that holds the front and back lines together. If she could take command, then Nell could retire. Later that night, all four of them toast to a job well done. Asuka's glad that the meat May bought didn't go to waste, and Nell is quick to quip that they're broke, so there's no wasting ingredients in this house. But now that he thinks about it, Nell is curious why May doesn't gain any weight. Asuka quickly grabs the former's chest and says it's because all the fat goes to her boobs. Unbelievable. Just when Nell thinks that the three of them finally have their act together, they start acting like this. Milialia starts the conversation about how they can handle 30+ monsters now without breaking a sweat. Nell points out that it only works on favorable terrain because at the end of the day, they've been picking fights where the field favors them. It's way too early for them to get cocky. At what he said, all three girls stopped and stared at him. So Nell continues that today they won because it was in the middle of the day and out in the open. There are other things, but those two are the main factors. What makes monsters terrifying is the ambush. As if to prove a point, he quickly draws the stick forward. An ambush is like getting stabbed out of nowhere from the dark. That's the scary part. Lightning hits a nearby mountain, causing a landslide and blocking the road. A man calls out to Luke, pointing out that their path is blocked, so they need to take a detour. The clan leader asks if they can't do anything, but given the gravity of the situation, they can't. It won't budge, Luke calls it. They need to turn back since they have no choice. But in doing so, it'll cost them some time. That's when one of the guild members whispered how this wouldn't have happened if only Lionel were there with them. Luke stops dead in his tracks, then glares at the former. What the hell did he just say? The poor guy had to back up, and Luke warned him not to say stupid crap like that ever again. Fina, who's sitting pretty inside the carriage, saw all of this and worried about Luke, who had his fist balled in anger. Then we have Lionel, who's glaring at the request board in the guild. Jennifer stares at him worriedly. Nell continues to stare and groan for a while, so Jennifer has to tell him that his staring and groaning around the request board are bothering the other adventurers. Finally, he turns to her and asks if she knows any good requests. Good is a bit vague, so Nell had to specify that he's looking for something that will help them fix up the place before the winter, and enough to pay out to secure a proper roof over their heads. That look on his face is scaring her, so Jennifer flips through the request to see if there are any that tick those boxes. Well, how about charting the ruin they just discovered? Jennifer says the request is from a local landlord. Ha, atta girl, that's what he's talking about, he's in. Suddenly he's so suave, proclaiming his love to Jennifer. He says the next meal's on him, but Jennifer refused him. She knows he'll just drag her to Hope's shack for cheap barbecue. With a sigh, he clarifies that it's not cheap. It's poor. Jennifer can't help but chuckle. Isn't he the ex-vice leader of a proud clan of Galia? And here he is, reduced to this sorry state. But more importantly, has Nell heard of the rumor? Huh? What rumor? She starts whispering to him about how the golden silkworm butterfly failed a request. Word spread that they couldn't deliver supplies to the capital on time. After a pause, Nell asks how late they were, and she says about 3 days. He had to repeat her answer to be sure. So Jennifer added that the clan cites the cause of the delay as a landslide from heavy rains. That's no excuse. Nell knows firsthand that the golden silkworm butterfly was hauling cargo to the capital. Urgent cargo like military supplies. Seasonal rains should have been anticipated. The clan couldn't even handle that? Nell starts listing the things they should have done, starting with apologizing to the client and salvaging trust immediately. But wait, what the hell is he even saying? This is none of his business. Anyway, he checks the paper for the request earlier, asking Jennifer if those are all the signatures before walking away. Jennifer calls out to him, worried, but it was Nell who apologized. His usual meddling almost slipped out. Seriously, what the hell is he even thinking? He's got others to look after now. As he walks outside, some of the other adventurers recognize him. Isn't that the old vice leader of the golden silkworm butterfly? But the other adventurer points out that the clan has a woman as their vice leader now. What was her name again? Fee something? The two continue their conversation, talking about how there's a rumor of a rebellion happening. If that happens, what if the golden silkworm butterfly collapses? Well, it only means more work for small fry like them. Nell returns to the clan house, and the girls instantly crowd him, firing one question after another. What kind of request did he take? Dragon hunt? How much is the reward? Only Meisha is complaining about being hungry. The poor guy is plastered to the door, telling them to back up a bit, since if they crowd together, the floor will collapse. He tells them the next mission, and Asuka can't believe it. It's not a subjugation mission. Nell explains that for this one, they'll mostly do exploration. She starts to pout because mapping ruins is boring. Meanwhile, Nell continues to scour for supplies, telling her that, of course, it's going to be boring. It's a preliminary survey before the exploration begins, so it won't be flashy. Be that as it may, it pays well. Untouched ruins often mean treasure left intact, and at the mention of that, Asuka starts getting fired up too, because does this mean there are monsters left intact too? Unbelievable, this girl is such a battle junkie. Anyway, this is the reason why they need to prepare for the worst, and at the mention of that word, Milialia asks if he's referring to something like a monster ambush. She's obviously worried, and Nell says they have to be ready for that too. She turns away, and it makes Nell wonder if he scared her too much the other day. Their little clan made it to the site soon enough. Nell checks the urban ruins from where they stand, saying plenty could be living here. Asuka's all excited that her blades are itching. He tells them that more blind spots mean full surrounding vigilance. First, they need to form ranks, and Asuka's hand shoots up so fast claiming she'll take point. Nell tells her no, prompting her to ask why. He explains that this is their first exploration mission. What's Asuka's plan moving forward? Plan? She intends to just walk straight in. So he had to ask, what if there's a trap underfoot? Even he can't always predict what era's tech they'll find without looking inside. With that said, safety first. Asuka understands what he's saying, but she wants him to trust her. She'll trust him and the others, so he should let her lead from the front. He was taken aback by her sincerity, but crap, he almost stunted their growth. In the end, he caves in and says he'll cover their 6. The foursome made their way inside the ruins, taking ginger steps. After a little while, there are still no monsters. Nell notes how it's too quiet, so if there is a monster, maybe it's an intelligent one. Asuka tells him not to worry because she won't drop her guard, she just did. Anyway, Meisha just laughs along. She'll be counting on their captain. Milialia is unusually quiet, thinking about what Nell said. Those intelligent monsters. She starts worrying, but at the same time reassures herself. It's fine. Asuka is at the front, so she'll cut them down like always, while Milialia will back her friend up with mana bolts. Just then, Asuka spots a hulking figure a few feet from them. She tightens her grip on the sword and charges straight at the mannequin-like monster. She strikes it head-on, but what is it? Nell instructs Asuka to keep her distance, just as the monster attacks the latter. This time, Asuka tells Milialia to stick by Mei, which the latter does. Eyes up front. not knowing a monster is sneaking up behind her. Milialia looks at the last minute, just in time for Asuka to pull her back, just as Asuka leaps high in the air. If she can't cut it, then she'll just smash it. She did hit it with a thunk, but nothing happened. This monster is still intact. How come that didn't work either? Nell finally speaks up and tells her that it's a golem. She'll need way more force to even crack the thing. While the golem is nursing its head, Asuka notes how she needs more force and turns to a frozen Milialia. The latter is close to a crash out because Asuka's attacks aren't landing. And a golem? She has never seen anything like this one. She's so taken by fear that she can't make out what Asuka shouts to her. In her panic, Milialia accidentally casts Mana Bolt, much to Asuka and everybody else's surprise. Asuka gets out of the way just in time. She actually wanted Milialia to cast Mana Enchant, not Mana Bolt. As the flames start to dissipate, the golem remains standing. This just caused Milialia to panic even more. Her Mana Bolt has no effect at all. Nell grabs Milialia by the shoulder, causing the latter to turn to him with her staff up, ready for defense. He lowers her staff and tells her to calm down, then instructs Misha to buff Asuka. The cleric casts Holy Light Shine on their swordsman, signaling that she's good to go. Asuka thanks her, and this time she manages to cut the golem in half. It crumbles to the ground a moment later, with Asuka showing them a V sign for victory. Nell commends her for a job well done. Meanwhile, Milialia wordlessly watches them as she tries to calm herself. After a while, Nell approaches her, asking if she's feeling better now. Milialia says she's much calmer now and apologizes for what happened. She's always had a problem whenever things don't go exactly as she imagined and ends up freezing up, not knowing what to do. Admittedly, she can't react instantly like Asuka, nor can she look out for everyone else like Meisha, so what good is she to the team then? Nell pats her on the head and tells her not to worry about it. After all, no one is perfect when it comes to unexpected situations. He didn't judge her at all because, unlike swordsmen who train their bodies for reflex, mages must read the arena. They need to understand the situation and pick the right spell. So when it comes to an unknown monster, Milialia is up against her worst possible match. Nell continues to assure her, saying she'll get used to it. But until then, she can rely on him. She only giggles at him in reply, which made Nell wonder if he came off too pushy with what he said. Asuka comes running to them, calling out to him with urgency. It's Meisha! Their swordsman says the latter is hungry, with Meisha dramatically saying she can't hold out any longer. But being the prepared mother hen that he is, Nell hands her a pemmican sandwich. He warns her not to eat too much since it's made of pure fat. But that's more than enough for Meisha, thanking their Mama Nell and even saying she loves him so. Milialia watches them with a smile because Nell really is like their mom at this point. He may not show it honestly, but he's a little touched, though he said they could at least call him their older brother. While he's looking away, Meisha has already finished the pemmican sandwich and is asking for more. But Asuka is excited to get back to exploring since Milialia's fine now. But these girls really, at least it's good to know Nell's current clan isn't short on personalities. The foursome resumed their exploration later on, and along the way they encountered more golems. This time, Milialia didn't freeze up. She took action and cast Mana Enchant on Asuka, allowing the latter to take down the golem. Looking at their fallen enemy, Milialia can't help but feel sad and wonder just who these golems were protecting the city from. What was the point of guarding it now? Nell replies that she can just look at it this way, because the golems held the line, the monsters didn't wipe out their party. Thousands of years later, they still have their culture and customs. That analogy prompted Milialia to ask if he's a secret romantic, but Nell says he's not. If anything, he's just grateful that because of the golems, it means the treasure's still lying around. Asuka has bigger problems than that though. She finds the golems' movements too simple. If it were up to her, they would have more attack patterns. Like they should shoot beams from their eyes or something like that. Nell can only sigh because this girl really is a total battle junkie. Their exploration of the ruins wrapped up soon. After they returned to the guild, they all headed back to the Hope Shack. With the payout settled, Nell tells them that the clan's savings are off limits and that they shouldn't waste their shares. Since tomorrow is their rest day, he says they can use that time to recover or enjoy themselves, so they should use it well. Asuka turns to Mei with excitement, talking about tomorrow, but the latter turns her down since she needs to go to church. Asuka turns to Milialia, but the mage says she'll be at the library studying. With tears in her eyes, Asuka finally turns to Nell, and this time the latter agrees with a sigh. She beams because tomorrow they're going on a date. A date, huh? The next day, the two head to the city where Asuka waves him along to eat meat. What the? She's just like Meisha. That's because for Asuka, meat is just ice, or whatever that means. But more importantly, she's impressed by how the houses in the city are pretty huge. Nell says it's built that way so only the wealthy can safely live within the walls. Did he say safely? So does that mean they have no leaky roofs or rats running around? There's no waking up to squeaking at night. That's a pretty sad way of thinking now that he heard her say all these out loud. Okay, Nell has decided. they're going to get a cat. Instead of getting excited, Asuka is worried because Nell is not going to raise it for food, is he? The hell? Of course not. Just what does she take him for? The cat is for catching rats, of course. Sure, it's another mouth to feed, but with a cat in the house, there won't be any chewed-up supplies. So with that, they head to the pet shop. Just like that, the two spent the day leisurely, checking out new gear and eating good food. And Asuka even thought a maid outfit would look good on Nell. Finally, they went to the pet shop to pick their newest four-legged friend. But they ended up back in the guild's cafeteria. Why wouldn't they? Access to that place is a perk of being a registered adventurer. But to Asuka, that just translates to being the cheapest option. Right, Mom? Nell can't believe the nerve of this girl. Did she just call him a mom and stingy at the same time? He believes that the food at the guild cafeteria is genuinely good and not cheap. He takes a bite of his dish and notices the kick of spice, making a note to ask about the blend later. Nell thinks this could add more variety to their meal, while Asuka looks at him with a sheepish smile. This is exactly why Nell is their mom. But yeah, Asuka still prefers meat though, which made Nell comment on how all three of them are carnivores. Upon hearing him say that, Asuka raises her hands doing claw-like motions, telling Nell to let her eat him sexually. You can imagine just how fast Nell scolded her and got up from his seat. No vulgar words at the dinner table. Just then, Jennifer spots them and hurries over to their table looking worried. She informs them that an urgent request just came in, asking them to report to the front desk tomorrow. Meanwhile, at the Capitol, Luke is being grilled by their client. The latter tries to reason that the heavy rains forced them to take a detour, but their client refuses to hear his excuses. The older man can't believe how one of Galia's top clans missed a deadline by 3 days. The older man continues that it looks like their clan has forgotten the weight of being royal contractors. Luke starts to become frantic when he hears that. The older man can't be serious, can he? They were late for just 3 days, for goodness sake. He still doesn't get it, does he? This time, the older man raised his voice, stressing the fact that adventurers like them live freely in this kingdom, drinking and boasting, only because the royal knights shield them. Fools like them may not understand it, but in war, victory belongs to those who command time. Had they been able to strike first, then the royal knights would have already crushed the rebels by now. The older man has had enough. Clearly, this job was way too much for Luke and his clan to handle. With that said, the golden silkworm butterfly will never be seen in the capital again. Luke just felt the weight of the world cave in on him. Back at their headquarters, he slams his drink on the table, cursing because just remembering what transpired makes him sick. What's worse is that their client even slapped them with reparations. Fina approaches him, saying he shouldn't worry, this is just bad luck. She holds him in her chest, assuring him that things will work out somehow, while he clings to her tightly. Outside their office, Joshua and Nicole hang around, hearing the two's dialogue from the inside. For one, Joshua wants to believe that everything will turn out fine too. But seeing the captain like this, all they can do for now is apologize. If only Vice Captain Nell was still there with them, then he'd already be begging for forgiveness. And yet look at Fina. Just what the hell is she doing? Before he could lose it, Nicole tells him to drop it. After all, she became vice captain without knowing the first thing about leadership. Joshua is surprised that his friend is unusually calm about all this. With a long face, Nicole tells him that he made up his mind. He's quitting the clan. That made Joshua stand from his seat, and Nicole already has a list of pros in quitting. He can fetch a good price from the Undertakers, and urges Joshua to come with him. It didn't really take too much to convince Joshua, since he knows that there's nothing left in the guild. The big bros they once looked up to are already gone. From here on out, Joshua says he'll go with Nicole. The two clasp hands, vowing that they won't end up like them. Several wagons trudge along, with the Hope clan on board one of them. They're seated with the other knights, with Asuka asking if they're really doing the right thing by joining this fight. Both Milialia and Asuka are worried since they will be going up against people who oppose the royal family, isn't that right? Nell is also serious and tells her that it is as she said. Their mission is to hunt the rebels who fled into the mountains. Their target is indeed humans. Milialia got up from her seat with panic, correcting him. They're rebel creatures, not humans. She needed to brainwash herself into thinking like that, or else. So how exactly did they end up in this situation? Flashback to last night, Jennifer approached them with a royal request to suppress the rebels. From what she heard, there are fewer than 100, and about 500 adventurers and mercenaries will sweep the mountain. But Nell's not too sure. Is a small fry clan like them even supposed to be there? To that, Jennifer tells him that they specifically want Hope, adding that their performance in subjugation quests has been outstanding. She may say all that, but Nell knows that Jennifer must have pulled strings to get them in. After all, for royal orders, they'd normally recommend a big-name guild to boost the guild's clout. But he believes it's because of their good conduct, no? Does the guild think they felt grateful for Hope's shabby barbecue party? Well, Jennifer could only hope so. So back to their current situation. There are fewer than 100 on the rebels' side versus 500 disciplined royal knights here. Plus, there are also 500 adventurers, including them, the Hope Guild. With those numbers, they can focus on scoring merits. But, then again, gathering adventurers just to act as skirmishers? Nell knows something's off. Anyway, Nell tells the girls not to get too worked up. Instead of forcing some heavy resolve, he advises them just to clear their minds and drop their reasons for now. Because if they're not a little unhinged, then they won't be able to kill people. Everyone was quiet after what he said. Asuka breaks the silence, shakily saying that they fight with the intent to kill. That decides life and death, right? That's what Nell taught them. He's surprised that she still remembers that. Well, how could she not? Nell always tells them that after warning them not to let their guard down. Milialia slaps both of her cheeks, prompting Nell to ask if she's okay. Yes, she is. Her brainwash is complete. Nell looks at them fondly, seeing how these girls have gotten so strong. But Misha, though, he wonders if she had always been a natural powerhouse from the start, looking at her sleeping face. Before the sun sets, the troops manage to set up camp just in time for Misha to wake up. As she stretched, Nell asked if she was alright with all this. She turns to him in all seriousness, saying that suppressing rebels is pretty much the same as fighting heretics, isn't it? Dang, she really is a powerhouse. Nell had to suppress himself from fanboying, but it also quickly dawned upon him that Misha is still 16, just like Asuka and Milialia. He tells her that if it gets to be too much, she should let him know. Like the others, she calls him Nell Mama and says that he's so kind. She promises that when the time is right, she shall offer him her purity. Does she always have to go there? One of the knights shushes, announcing that General Kitos, who commands the whole force, will address this operation personally. Okay, Captain Shady. The general speaks and tells everyone that they will camp here tonight and sweep the mountain at dawn. He continues that 500 of their royal army are already encamped at the base of the mountain, but Nell's attention is elsewhere. Our guy noticed a lone soldier heading into the woods, while the general ordered them to rest easy and restore their strength. Aha, so that's their play. Nell's big brain already understands what's about to happen, and if anything, that general is a crafty old fox. Nell motions the girl to move closer and tells them they should set up camp right where the hunt starts. Later that night, a soldier reports to the general's tent, informing the older man that deployments are as ordered and that the scouts also report that all is well. The general eyes his sand table, telling the soldier that they'll prepare for a sortie in an hour and a half until dawn. True enough, the tents start burning at the given time. Their camp is under attack. While many of the soldiers scramble to safety, Nell and the girls are safely tucked away in a different area. It's just like Nell said, they're attacking HQ and the supply train. Asuka doesn't understand why they're only attacking there and that spot precisely, so Nell explains it for her. It's the work of an informant. To deal with real damage, it's better to ambush HQ or supplies than the earnest vanguard doing the sweep. However, that's only on the premise that they know the exact locations. So what's this about an informant? Nell says that the informant is someone planted by General Kitos himself, which only means that the general never intended to do a real mountain sweep. According to the information, the royal army set up camp at the base of the mountain for the sweep, and the rebels are fewer than the publicly announced suppression force. This gives the rebels no choice but to set an ambush. This is probably the general's information strategy to make them think like that. Asuka asks him what else they could do, but instead of answering them directly, he urges them to think about it. There's a whole mountain. Can a mere 1,000 troops fully surround it, especially with no blind spot? Not happening. If anything, they're the ones getting mobbed. Considering all these pieces of information, the publicized general numbers are to rattle them and steal their cool. For that reason, the Hope Clan and the others were called, not as the real fighting power, but to inflate the headcount. Asuka can't believe it, they're being used as bait. So does this mean that they never expected anything from them in the first place? Well, to put it bluntly, yes. On the bright side, General Kylos is not a flower-brained commander who builds a plan around hired thugs as a core strength. This still pisses off Asuka, but it's a good thing that Nell already has a safety plan in place. Of course, Nell already has a plan to earn credit from here. The question is, are they in? The rebels and the knights are going at it with full force, dead bodies everywhere. But the latter refuse to cower. On the other hand, the rebels are also set on taking as many of the king's dogs as they can. Kill them all, they said. The general, who has only been watching from the sidelines all this time, finally decides to join the fray. He cuts a few men down with one slash and starts ordering his men to hold the line. He claims these are dead men walking and tells his soldiers they shouldn't fight them head-on. Instead, they should surround, drive, and dogpile them. Suddenly, there was an explosion behind the general. He turned just in time to hear someone ask if he was all right. Of course, it's the adventurer clan Hope. They have come to back them up and are here to help the soldiers of the royal army. As expected, Asuka thrives on the battlefield, cutting down the rebels one after the other. Nell also fights alongside her, leaving the other soldiers in awe. They pierce armor like it's nothing, like an unbeatable hero. Well, that's what most people would see, but there's a trick behind this. Nell gets nicked in the arm, so what's the magic behind all this? First, their enemies have lost their cool, which means they're full of openings. Second, Nell's sword carries Meisha's holy light, while Asuka's blade is blessed with Milialia's magic. But that's not all there is to it. As if on cue, Meisha uses her long-range healing while Milialia uses her mana shot. Impeccable timing as always. The combo of Meisha's healing and mana shot is still going strong. The final ingredient to their formation is the magic support from a safe distance. Thanks to that, they can fight with peace of mind, and Meisha and Milialia are handling things just fine. General Kido saw how good they are and commended them for fighting well. Because of them, the general says he's still alive, so he won't forget this debt. Nell is honored by the general's words, but for now, he urges the older man to keep his eyes up front and escape the crisis before them. With that said, the worst should be behind them, and victory for the royal army is near. After the fight, the general asks for the names of the Hope clan members. Neil is quick to bow, introducing himself as Lionel, and explaining that they are adventurers from Galia. The girls follow his lead, bending the knee as he tells the older man that their names are Asuka, Meisha, and Milialia. The general personally praises Nell's command, saying his talent is wasted on a nameless stray. Okay, that's pretty rude. Like most greedy men, the general wants Nell on his side, so he's quick to invite our guy to serve under him. Nell knows that if he nods here, even a knight's title may no longer be just a pipe dream. Can you imagine an orphanage brat climbing that high? Well, that was always the dream he and Luke shared, or rather, was. The girls turn to Nell anxiously, just as Nell tells the general how much his words honor him. Be that as it may, Nell has taken it on himself to guide these three girls next to him. Until they're full-fledged, he has no intention of serving anyone else. With that, the general turns his back on them. So, Nell serves as their teacher, not their strategist. The general lets him off with a big smile. This general is more flexible than he thought. The general turns his attention to the girls, telling them they should be proud since they have a fine teacher, and they all gleefully say they are. After the whole fiasco, they return to the guild. There, Jennifer says a commendation arrived from General Kaitos, leaving Nell impressed. That man sure is dutiful considering they got paid enough already. Jennifer is even happier than they are, adding that this just shows how grateful the general was to them. After all, commendations to commoners are pretty rare. Nell feels a little pressure because it's way too much honor, and the letter is even addressed to him. Jennifer's excited because this one will definitely go down in history. Nell takes the letter gingerly and turns away, finding it hard that something like this is really happening. Jennifer also hands out the general's gifts to the girls. For Asuka, the general prepared a magic sword, while Meisha is gifted with an amulet that has defense enchantments. Lastly, Milialia is given a circlet that amplifies mana. The three of them are all giddy with the present, with Asuka naming her new weapon the Asuka Blade. For Meisha, it's Meisha's guard, and lastly, there's Milialia's talisman. Nell stares at them from a distance, and not to burst their bubble or anything, but if they sold all that, they could finally leave the shack life behind. Of course, the girls are totally against it and clutch their gifts tighter. Nell tries to reason with them, saying a dumpy shack doesn't suit them, and if the general saw it, he'd cry. While they were busy talking, they didn't notice the door to the guild open and someone enter. The girls continue to tell Nell that selling the items would make them cry. Nell is a monster. At the mention of his name, this figure who had entered uttered Nell's name. Did he hear them say, "Lionel?" Our guy suddenly feels all the blood drain from his face as he hears that familiar voice. It was Luke. The golden silkworm butterfly leader approaches Nell, then suddenly glares. Nell blocks him from the girls, and to their surprise, Luke drops to his knees and begs him. This is it, the exact same scenario from 5 years ago. Luke is begging Nell to come back to the golden silkworm butterfly again. Even back then, Nell hesitated, afraid that he'd repeat the same mistakes if he returned. Despite these doubts, he still went back because he wanted to trust the man he'd called his family. Nell really believed Luke would change, that things would get better, and that someday, he kept clinging to that someday, clinging to illusions about Luke. In reality, Nell was the fool. His common sense is working this time, and even though Luke threw himself on his feet, Nell doesn't feel anything. So what is this? Does Luke need money again? Before the latter could answer, our guy tells him to take the savings he left. Just call it hush money. Nell explicitly tells his ex-friend how he's not coming back. At this, Luke is quick to anger and he can't believe what he just heard. So, he won't return even if it's his sworn brother who bows his head to him? Bringing that up made Nell pull a face. He really had the balls to bring up about family now, huh? Speaking of family, Nell asks how Joshua, Nicole, and the old officers are doing. Again, before Luke can answer, Nell already knows that they all quit. He looks at Luke with disdain as he keeps on asking about the others. Oh wait, there are no others. Luke is left with only the vice captain, right? That's it. Luke has had enough of Nell's sharp tongue. He grabs his sword, angry at how cocky his ex-vice leader is getting. But no sooner than he did that than the girls inserted themselves between them, protecting Nell. Asuka tells him head-on that if he's going to draw his sword, then they're going to make this old man regret doing so. The girls position themselves between Nell and Luke, with the latter shell-shocked at the way they stood up for his ex-best friend. Asuka still has her arms out, asking Luke if he knows what will happen if he cuts someone down while inside the guild. Even he should know the repercussions of such actions, shouldn't he? From behind, Nell notices Asuka's whole body is shaking. But it's not just her. All three of them put their lives on the line. Then what does that say about him and Luke? Isn't it pathetic? Admittedly, Nell knows he and Luke are the ones who lost their cool. Just then, Jennifer calls one of the guards, and with gritted teeth, Luke turns and leaves. Nell tries to reach out to him while Asuka apologizes to him, thinking that she may have been too nosy. Nell pats her on the head. He assures her that she helped, and he's grateful for that. Asuka was about to ask about Luke, but Meisha held her back, urging their friend to wait for now. Their cleric had to remind Asuka that Nell was kicked out of his clan for being such a nag. But does she really think that issue alone is enough for Nell to pull a face like that? Asuka lowers her head upon realization, but Meisha thinks they'll just wait until he's ready to tell them someday. Meanwhile, there's Nell, who's busy apologizing to Jennifer for the commotion they caused. Anyway, Meisha tells Asuka that they should keep Hope as Nell's home. Oh, his home, yeah, that could work. Asuka believes Meisha is right, but hey, no sneaking ahead, okay? Both Meisha and Milialia noticed how their Nell mama is a bit more biased toward Asuka lately. Obviously, the lady swordsman tries to brush it off in embarrassment. Just what the hell are these girls saying? Meanwhile, we have Luke, who walks with his head down in the streets. He's reminded of the last time the guild members begged him to bring Lionel back. Even they knew that they wouldn't be able to finish off the reparation fees for the kingdom. Luke suggests they sell off the furnishings just to get by, but that's exactly what they're doing right now. While the members are busy racking their brains, there's Fina, who stands quietly at the back. Just then, she has decided. She takes off the butterfly claw clip from her hair, just as Luke tells them that he'll bring Lionel back. Hell, he'll even grovel if he has to. That's when Luke noticed that Fina was no longer there. It's over for him and the guild. Because of the royal damages, their headquarters were seized, and by then, it was still not enough to cover the fees. Luke walks along the city streets with his head down. He's got nothing left. Not fame, not fortune, not comrades, and not even his best friend. Hell, not even a lover. As soon as he thought of that, a familiar hair blew right in front of him, along with a yellow butterfly. Luke looked up to watch the butterfly when he saw it. Before him, Fina was happily smiling, clinging to another man's arms. Next, everything happened like a blur. Fina turns just in time to see Luke draw his sword out of rage and cut off her right arm in one stroke. He would have been ready to do more had the soldiers not stopped him from killing her right then and there. This infamous incident became a ballad sung at a local tavern called The Butterfly at Sunset. With that, the bard wraps up his song. Other adventurers began talking about the downfall of the once great golden silkworm butterfly. They never really thought the clan would end up in a song like this. Still, it wasn't exactly epic enough for verse, and the clan didn't really have any real villains. Be that as it may, it was pretty obvious that they were all fools. Speaking of fools, that one fool got hauled off, right? They wonder if he will be receiving the death sentence, but another claims that the fool is the luckiest bastard alive. So where exactly is Luke being held? The poor man's chained up in the dungeon, which is fairly lucky for him, by the way. Because Fina survived, Luke dodged execution, but there's no denying the fact that the crime he committed is heavy. The folks at the tavern were wondering what kind of penalty awaits him. Could it be hard labor for life? But yeah, just like the ballad's title, this was one hell of a downfall. On a lighter note, let's get back to the Hope Shack. A certain paw playfully pats the flap of a letter when the cat hears its name called. Lion King. Not a moment later, Nell picks up the feline, coddling the kitty and saying he should only punch mice. Milialia looks up at him judgmentally. For some reason, Nell acts like some dad whose family only plays with him on the weekends, so he's stuck in bed. Okay, but did she really have to drag him like that? Rude. It's true, though. Milialia points out how he's stuck here moping at home instead of gambling or hitting the brothel. Why does Milialia have a bad Nell headcanon? But more importantly, Nell scolds her for pushing adults into having bad habits. Relax, she's only messing with Nell. If anything, Nell is in the way of her cleaning, so it would do her good if he just played somewhere else. Nell feels hurt. Why does this girl treat him worse every day? Plus, he's broke, so how exactly can he go out and play around? That's when Milialia noticed the open letter on the floor. She reaches out to pick it up, but Nell puts his hand over it, explaining that it's a letter that would embarrass him if someone else read it. Wait, could it be? Milialia stares at him wide-eyed, asking if the reason he's broke is because Nell is spoiling some girl at the brothel. In her imagination, he's acting cool and all that, and then proceeds to cry on Nell's chest. How could he act like this? After all that time preaching to them about frugality, he's going off to some woman after all this time? Nell didn't even bother correcting her idea of him, so to avoid the ruckus he decided to leave the Hope Shack and head straight to the guild. There, he takes Jennifer's hand, once again proclaiming his love for her, but actually, he just wants her to treat him to tea. Jennifer pinches his hand away. Didn't he already pull this stunt on her before? But other than that, she's more interested in that new kitty they adopted. Nell is also teary-eyed from how hard she pinched him, but she's firm on not treating him today. He can always go for the water spout at the training yard, right? Aha! Of course, there's the training yard, but wait a minute, Nell feels like everyone's been acting pretty cold around him lately. Jennifer ponders over this. But no, she doesn't think so. She does think that everyone's just trying to grow more without relying on him. Ouch! Now that brought tears to poor Nell's eyes, so is that it? He's not needed anymore? Jennifer couldn't believe this drama queen, so she pushes him off and urges him to get that parched throat hydrated so he can think this over slowly. Nell headed to the water spout at the training yard, and yes, that water did refresh him. Life has been restored at last. That's when he noticed two adventurers sparring just a few feet before him. Oh, that's Asuka! The girl lunges toward her opponent but stops before the latter's blade could reach her. She quickly evaded his enemy's swings, with Nell noting how her movements have become pretty good. Looking at her now, she's like a totally different person from 3 months ago. If it's her, then maybe. Nell continues to observe Asuka's spar from a distance. She finally notices him standing there. Asuka, being Asuka, took her eyes off her opponent and waved to him instead. Of course, that earned her a solid bonk to the head. Anyway, she wrapped up her session soon after, and Nell started nagging her pronto. Resting is part of training too, you know? She can only smile sheepishly and admits that she feels like she'll only get weaker if she stops. Nell sighs. He gets it, okay? But he would appreciate it if she didn't sneak around behind his back to train. If she gets hurt, then it defeats the whole purpose of training. You got it, Nell mama, Asuka cheerfully replies. But Nell still nags her with a threat that naughty kids who worry their moms get punished. But is it really a threat? If anything, Asuka would happily take on his punishment if it meant getting spanked in the bum. Nell tells her outright he's not spanking anybody. Asuka continues to tease him, but Nell's eyes dart toward Jennifer, with the latter waving him to come closer. Jennifer has good news. She has the perfect job for poor old Lionel, which sounds pretty pathetic now that she said that out loud. Anyway, what kind of job does the wicked Miss Jennifer have in store for them? One threatening, huh? From her, and Nell quickly backtracks on what he said. So the job. Jennifer says it's an escort mission to the capital. At the mention of that, Asuka perks up. Are they going to escort an actual princess? Jennifer finds her amusing, but no, it's actually a merchant escort. Asuka's face fell as soon as she heard that. Sure, this could be an opportunity for them if they can actually pick up work from the capital. However, Nell points out that it's a big if. So how exactly does this mission make it perfect for them? Jennifer explains that the client specifically requested a small female-led party. Doesn't that sound just like Hope? Nell could only groan because it reeks of crime if you ask him. A client requesting a small all-female party? That definitely sounds sketchy to him. Oh, but he underestimates Jennifer too much. She did the work and looked into it, telling them that the client herself is actually a woman. Oh, then that explains it. Of course, a female merchant may not feel safe hiring a bunch of guys to escort her. Okay, Nell tells her that they'll take the job and depart in 3 days. 3 days later, Hope meets their client, Anita. The poor girl looks worried, asking our little clan to take her safely to the capital. What Jennifer said was true about the client being a woman, but no one said the rest of them are all men. That crucial piece of information wasn't included in the brief at all. Not to be judgmental, but they all look the lecherous type. Suddenly, Misha's eyes lit up. She tells Mama Nell that she just got a revelation from the Supreme God. Nell can already tell what she's about to say, but yeah, did she sense evil? Misha lowers her head and says that it is so. You see, those with the saint gift sometimes receive revelations from the Supreme God, and one of them is called Sense Evil. It lets the cleric detect beings with wicked hearts. Hell, even without the revelations, it's obvious enough to see a setup this unnatural. Just look at Anita's body language. The poor girl is uncomfortable as heck with that perv's hand on her shoulder. Be that as it may, Nell still wants proof, so right now, this is still just a guess. Meisha understands, so Nell gives her additional instructions to keep feigning ignorance. They should act like they haven't noticed yet and fill this in for Milialia later. Since Asuka can't keep a straight face, Nell says he'll be the one to talk to her once they make a move. Of course, there's also the matter with Anita. They have to save her too. Nell agrees, saving her was part of the plan from the start. Misha smiles because this is exactly what she expected of their Mama Nell. She already knew he'd say that. In his mind, they can definitely use Anita as bait, especially to lure in prey. Misha went ahead and tapped Milialia to inform them of the plan, leaving Nell wondering how to play this out. From Galia to Galancran, the royal capital, it usually takes about 7 days. But 3 months ago, heavy rains wrecked the highway, and it's still not fully repaired, so they have no choice but to take a detour. The side roads aren't maintained and there are no inns on the way, which means they have no choice but to camp. Nell surveys the map and points at key areas, explaining to everyone that they'll be camping out tomorrow and the day after. He instructs them to keep a fire going at all times and to be ready to respond to anything. One of the older guys tells him that he doesn't have to be so keyed up. He should take it easy. Lionel flashes him his business smile, saying they're just rookie adventurers, so they should be careful. The old man is undeterred and tells him to lighten up. On the upside, it's no wonder those girls trust him, huh? Just when you thought they couldn't get any creepier, these pervs just did and even roped in Anita into their conversation. She starts to fret and stutters but agrees to what they just said. Nell worries over her and can only look at her from a distance. But one of the men assured him that Anita's just shy. The older man adds that if they feel tired, they should tell them any time. Nell and the others smile and they'll do just that. It was obvious. These pervs plan to hit them during camp, presumably on day 2, when focus drops. Nell knows because that's when they've struck these past months. The women they attacked likely never reported that they've been assaulted by merchants for fear that they may be mocked for not fighting them off. What's even worse is when women adventurers vanish on the road and the authorities barely investigate it. The guild is not any better since they didn't even send any search teams. In a world like this, scum like them act brazenly. Nell keeps an eye out, noting that the next 2 or 3 days are the crux. He turns to Meisha, telepathically telling her that he's counting on her. Nell knows for sure that the first one they'll target will probably be her. I mean, just look at Meisha. If you need more proof, just look at the men salivating and ogling at her behind their backs. Later that night, they set up camp as expected. Since the tents are already up, one of the men offers to do dinner prep. Nell refused because they can't possibly impose on them like this. That's when they put the spotlight on Anita. Her cooking is the best. They have to try it. Anita looks uncomfortable as hell and wouldn't meet Nell's or the others' gaze. They pat her head until Anita finally looks up, distraught but smiling, as she tells Nell that she'll do her best. His heart almost broke seeing her like this. Cut to later. Dinner is already done. Asuka beams because it looks so delicious. She praises Anita for her cooking skills, but the latter remains modest. It's not much, but this is the least she could do to help. Nell only stares at her before he takes a seat and tells everyone to eat while it's still hot. Asuka takes the first bite and goes off about how delicious it tastes, with Misha chiming in about how the meat is just perfect. Of course, it had to be her who said that. It's always about meat when it comes to Meisha. Nell was just about to scold them not to talk with their mouths full, but he couldn't get the words out. He drops his spoon and starts shaking. Oh no, his body is... Nell sways from his seat and clutches his chest in pain before collapsing on the ground. The girls are now on their feet, panicking at what they had just witnessed. But before they can even reach out to him, Asuka and the others also collapse as they feel weakened. The creeps appear, grinning from ear to ear. Idiots, they say. Strategist or not, they can't believe Nell didn't even notice they slipped him a sedative. They approach him cautiously, rope in hand to tie him up. Just kidding, huh? Before they can even register who said that, Nell gives them a mighty roadhouse kick before getting up on his feet. He turns to the girls. Everyone, pin them now. Asuka easily tackled a couple of those pervs, with Nell keeping an eye on her. He didn't notice one of the dudes was creeping behind him until Anita bashed the guy's head. All of them turned to her. She just saved them. Let's take it back a few hours earlier. Anita was cooking dinner when Nell approached her. She quickly faces him, hiding the item she was holding behind her. Dinner's not ready yet, she says. But Nell didn't come because of that. He just thought he'd lend her a hand. He's the one who usually cooks for the girls, so doing nothing makes him antsy. Anita was about to say another excuse to drive him off, but Nell assures him she doesn't have to pretend anymore. She doesn't have to hurt anyone anymore or get hurt herself. She couldn't take it anymore. She broke down and cried. She can't believe it after all this time. Nell takes the potion from her hand, saying this time, it ends her. To do that, Nell is going to need her help. Which brings us back to the present. All the pervs are tied up now, cursing Anita for selling them out. The guilt trip her, saying she's just as guilty for tricking all those women. They turn their anger to Nell and the girls. Did they really think they could just lay their hands on merchants like them? Oh, but on the contrary, that's not what Nell is thinking though. He squats to level with them to reveal something they should know about adventurers. You see, the adventurer lot always takes revenge no matter how many years it takes. If they can't do it, then they make sure their children will carry it on. Simply put, adventurers never forget. So in line with this crucial piece of information, Nell tells them that once the public discovers that they're repeat offenders, all those women who kept quiet all this time will finally make their move. Even the guild. Nell is obviously enjoying threatening these men, and Anita can only stand back as she watches him do the talking. He's definitely a good man, but with a wicked streak. Asuka cuts in and asks Nell what they should do with them. Nell Mama pokes them with his sheathed sword, saying they have two options: drag them back to Galia or take them to the capital as planned. Without even looking at them, Nell already knows what the girls' decisions are. They're practically emitting "we want to go sightseeing at the capital" vibes right now. With a sigh, he caves in. Fine, they'll head to Galencran, the royal capital, tomorrow. And everybody cheered. Well, suffice it to say that their excitement was short-lived because the following day, Asuka just about had enough. Are they at the gate yet? Galencran is too big. On the upside, at least she's getting the hang of the wagon now. Nell assures her that they're almost there. Just look. The welcoming guard is there. The latter approaches their wagon, asking if they're the adventurer clan Hope. At the mention of Hope, the townsfolk turn, excited to catch a glimpse of the Hope clan. Lionel talks to the guards and introduces himself as the leader of the clan. He sent an advance notice motioning to the men at the back, saying they brought the rapists into custody. The guard commends Nell and the others for a job well done, relaying to him that the garrison captain has a summons for Nell. The guard instructs Nell to head straight to the 3rd barracks. Nell takes the reins from Asuka, saying he got it from here. She's still reluctant to let go, but Nell says it's fine. The three of them should answer the capital's cheers. The people are yelling their names: Asuka, Milialia, and Misha. They're heroines who punish the enemies of women. Nell couldn't be prouder hearing them being cheered like this. The only downside is that nobody's shouting his name. He's the poor wagon driver, asking everyone to clear the way. A few days later, Nell visits a certain manor and relays this story. The person he's conversing with couldn't believe his ears. Did Nell really stay put and act like the girl's coachman the whole time? Nell can only smile sheepishly, but that's exactly what happened. The person he's talking to is none other than General Kaidos himself. The older man can't believe the leader really acted like a mere coachman. After recovering from his laughing fit, the older man got serious. So, Lionel came all this way to his manor to ask for a favor, right? Is it about that matter? Actually, Nell says it's for another matter. It's about the one who drove the wagon with him to the capital. He hoped General Kaidos had heard about the incident, which the latter says he has. General Kitos did. After all, Nell's recent accomplishment made it to the papers. So yeah, Hope may be celebrated right now, and the three heroines are famous enough to be illustrated in the news. On the other hand, the townsfolk aren't too keen on Anita. Hers is a complicated matter. Although some sympathize with her, the stairs left her with no place in her trading house. What's even worse is that the firm that produced those 7 criminals is under fire and near collapse. The employees keep saying that Anita should have just kept quiet, and they go on blaming her. Wow, victim blaming in 2025. Back to the present. Nell knows he's troubling the general for this even after the recent affair, and the latter knows so. Nell asks General Kaidos to extend his hand to save her. The general burst out laughing again. This is just a small matter, and by doing this, his fame will rise. If anything, he feels good to have Nell owe him. The general is already looking forward to Nell repaying it properly someday. That got Nell sweating. He thanks the older man for his generosity and promises he'll return the favor with a bit of interest if he can. The general brushes it off because he knows Nell will be penniless, interest or not. Oh ho? This just perked up the general, but Nell tries not to dwell on that. Kaidos wouldn't let it go though, because he remembers there's a certain fool who poured his entire fortune into some unimportant scheme. Nell drinks his tea shakily, averting his eyes from the general. Well, they have tea and time, and the general pours him some more. This time, Kitos says it's about time they talk about that former captain of the Golden Silkworm Butterfly.